Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite and easiest recipes. And it's a way to get kefir into your life that's so fun and so easy to do that everybody likes this. And I've actually made a video about it, and I'm going to put a video in this podcast at the end. So if you want to see that, for the format, you probably have to go to YouTube to listen to this podcast to see the video, but it's actually worth it, and it's super simple. You're going to be shocked how easy it is. But this recipe only has 2 ingredients, and it's kefir dip, if you want to know what I'm talking about. And it's basically cultured vegetables and kefir cheese. And it has more probiotics than any other dip, and it is crazy delicious. It's so funny. Every time I serve this, people are like, what is this? It's one of my family's most favorite recipes. And I have a story to tell you that was really funny, because on one particular occasion, and I do this a lot, I took it to a party. And people bring side dishes and everything. And people were gobbling it up and asking me what it was. And I'm always hesitant to go into this big explanation about fermented foods, and because it kind of freaks people out if they don't know what it is. So they don't know what kefir is, let alone cultured vegetables. So, I kind of try to be vague about it unless they really want to know. But on this occasion, it was really warranted that I tell them what was happening, because most people only take a small spoonful of this dip, and they'll eat it with chips or something. And everybody was, bringing up all kinds of side dishes. And most, like I said, most people only took a small spoonful, but one guy in particular could not stop eating it. I bet he had like 3 cups of this dip. Now, 3 cups of this dip is so many, many, many probiotics. And they were going to flood his body, and then they were going to clean house. And when you eat a lot of probiotics, and when I say probiotics, I mean probiotic foods, you are basically strengthening the bacteria in your gut. And what happens is they get a lot of numbers. And when bacteria has a lot of numbers, and this is the good guys, they go after the bad guys, and they just, because they become more dominant. So they decide to clean house. And they will kill off those pathogenic bacteria in a very, very powerful way. And I tried to warn him to slow down and explain that for somebody who has never had cultured foods of this magnitude, that he was going to be thinking about me the next day when he was in the bathroom. Well, that was met up with uproarious laughter from him and everybody who was listening. So I proceeded to tell him just what he had done. So food is very powerful medicine. And your body is a gift that is quite miraculous. And the purpose of food is to supply your body with all kinds of energy and things it needs to keep you in balance and create new cells, feed your good bacteria. And since you're mostly bacteria, which is 100 trillion, and those bacteria, like I said before, work in numbers to do their job, he just flooded his body with billions and billions of good bacteria. And now they had the numbers that they could to go after those pathogenic bacteria. And let me tell you something, believe you me, they will. And he had basically unleashed a dragon that was going to kill those pathogens mightily, and he was going to feel it tomorrow, if not that night. So what happens is your body can't eliminate that waste fast enough, because you've killed off so many, not just bacteria, but yeast, because bacteria keeps yeast in balance. So if you have a lot of candida yeast, it goes after that too, because candida yeast should stay in the part of your body in a small amount, kind of like in a corner. And the bacteria keep them in balance. They keep them pushed to the side, which is kept them in small numbers, because your body needs it too. Body needs candida too in small amounts to help you digest heavy metals and things like that your regular digestive system cannot handle. So, but it keeps it in balance. But if candida gets out of control, and then they flourish and grow, then you've got a problem. So when you have a lot of good bacteria, they kill off harmful yeast and yeast that shouldn't be dominant, and they can give off like 80 toxins. So it can make you kind of uncomfortable. They call this a healing crisis. So I knew he was in trouble because he'd never had fermented foods, let alone my fermented foods. So 3 cups is a lot. And I took the dip away from him. I said, nope, you're not having any more. Everybody was laughing at me, but I'm like, you don't know what you've just done. And I know what these microbes will do, and they will have the last say. So the very next day, he came up to me and said, holy cow, I was in the bathroom for over an hour, and you were right. I said, were you constipated? He said, yes. And I still feel like I'm not done. I said, well, you're not. You're not done. So have a good day, but might be a rough one. And everybody laughed. He laughed. And, but it is testimony to what these foods can do. And Louis Pasteur said something that I love. And he said, gentlemen, it is the microbes who will have the last word. And that is true. And he really learned a powerful lesson that day that, first of all, you want to have good bacteria in your body. You want to have a lot of it, and you want to have, but maybe not all at once. But he basically did like a nuclear blast off and blasted off massive amounts of good bacteria in his gut that really decided to rewrite his whole entire microbiome. So anyway, if you do make this dip and you haven't had cultured foods, don't eat 3 cups. But, a half a cup, that you'll be all right. But it's so powerful that having it on a regular basis is such a good idea because it's a fun way to get lots of good probiotics. I mean, there's so many probiotics in this dish. And they're more powerful than supplement because supplements can open up in parts of the body that is not wanted, and it can often be killed by the stomach acids, whereas fermented food has a protective halo that goes around it that allows it to speed to the parts of the body that are needed, and it works so much more effectively than supplements, and it's less expensive, and it's something you can do that's sustainable because you can have kefir and cultured veggies in your fridge at all times. And you only need a couple of things, like I said before, is kefir cheese. Now, some people don't have kefir cheese. They can substitute like sour cream, but then you'll miss out on the powerful probiotics in the kefir cheese. And you can even buy kefir cheese in the grocery stores now. I've seen it in some health food stores and in some actually regular grocery stores have it, but it depends on where you live and what parts of the country. But it's really more powerful to make your own, and it's so easy to make. When you make kefir cheese, you only need some kefir that's made and a strainer and a bowl with a coffee filter. And you just put the coffee filter in the strainer over a bowl and let the whey drip out of the kefir cheese. Kind of like when some people will make yogurt or Greek yogurt, and they make it thicker by draining out the whey. You can also buy a cheese maker, and I have places you can buy them. And it's really fun and easy to make. And then you just let it drain in your fridge like overnight. And the longer you drain it, the firmer it gets. But I usually just do it overnight or for a day. And then you have this wonderful lump of cheese. And you can use it. I have like 43 or 45 different recipes using kefir cheese. And I'll link that in the description below, just so you have some of the recipes that I love. Now, the other ingredient that you need is cultured veggies. And I love cultured veggies. And you can use any type of cultured veggies. Some of my favorites is the Shelley's cultured vegetable recipe. And I'm going to link all these in the description below. Or spicy kimchi is really good if you like the spiciness. We have a buffalo kraut that's really good. We have a lemon kraut. We have an orangeade kraut. We have a Spanish kimchi that's good. All of those work really good. And so you just got to choose your recipe. And cultured veggies are super easy to make. All you do is you chop up vegetables, you put them in a jar, you submerge them in water, you put in a culture and some salt, because salt keeps them crunchy. And then you let them sit on your counter anywhere from 3 to 6 days, depending on the recipe. If you're making kraut, it takes 6 days, 6 to 7 days. If you're making things that aren't kraut, if you're making things like green beans or dilly beans or pickles, they take about 3 days. But all of these dishes, I recommend using a kraut because the kraut tastes the best in this dip. I love the orangeade kraut because that tastes fantastic. Or the lemon kraut works really good too. And you can choose your own recipe. I have over 100 cultured vegetable recipes. and you can be creative and turn your kitchen into a culturing haven. And so then once you get your kefir cheese and once you get your cultured veggies, all you do is mix them together and into a dip. And you can serve it with vegetables. You can serve it with chips. You can serve it however you like. But I am going to put a little video at the end of this podcast, and I'm going to give you the recipe. And I think you'll have to go to YouTube to see it, or to listen to this podcast on YouTube, or just go watch the video. But it is so worth making, and it's so simple, guys. Most of the things that I do are super simple. Like yesterday, my daughter was wanting some cultured vegetables, and she made a grilled cheese, and she put some kraut in the middle of her grilled cheese, which she absolutely loves, and then grilled it, and it doesn't get too hot in the middle to kill all the probiotics. And that's a simple way to have some cultured veggies that your family will love. My family loves that. And then there's so many different ways that you can use this dip. I just use it all the time. Just it's so simple and easy to make. And I always have some kind of cultured veggie in my fridge, and I always have kefir cheese. So that's just something I always have on hand because I use it. And you can use kefir cheese in place of sour cream, cream cheese, any kind of thing that calls for a cheese dip. You can use kefir cheese in place of it, and it works wonderfully. Just don't heat it because that kills the probiotics, but most dips aren't heated. And I have things like ranch dip, and I just had a dip book last month for my members, and I think it had 40 some recipes in it because we have so many. And I also have a bunch of free ones on my website at culturedfoodlife.com if you want to swing over there. And I'll put that in the description below too. And I have a whole article with everything you need on how to make kefir cheese, how to make cultured vegetables. I have a video on how to make cultured vegetables. I have the video on how to make this recipe. And I think it will be something that you will be making for years and years to come, because you have to just start making changes in your diet. You start having to make little changes that can change everything, because food is powerful and it can change your cravings. It can change the things you include in your daily life by changing your taste buds, by changing the bacteria in your gut, because the bacteria in your gut basically craves the food that you give it and makes more of those types of cravings to help you assimilate the food. So if you start to give it healthier food, then you start to crave those foods. And it especially works with things like fruits and vegetables and probiotic foods and fermented foods that I teach people how to make. It really does change the foods that you crave. And then you're craving foods that are good for you and that your body loves and that makes your body thrive. Because here's the deal. If your gut bacteria is healthy, it keeps all those pathogenic things, carcinogenics, all of those things from coming into your body and creating havoc, because your gut lining is a very important key to your immunity. What your body, has inside of your gut can create your immune system to be strong and healthy, or it can create it to be weaker, because depending on the bacteria in your gut will determine how strong your immune system is. It affects everything. Your blood sugar, which is one of the things that keeps you young and healthy and alive. Controlling your insulin by, your blood sugars and how they do, and controlling your diet and how many good bugs you have in your gut is going to determine how you do a lot of things. Hormones, it does everything. And keeping that healthy, which is 100 trillion, by the way, bacteria in your gut, which is more than the cells in your body, is going to determine a myriad of things. And you want a robust immune system because it is your secret to keeping out disease and illness. And it knows how to do its job. You just have to give it the nutrients that it needs and the things that it needs to keep it healthy. And when you do, everything changes. And I know that because I've lived that. I still live that. And I'm shocked that I keep learning new things. I just wrote an article this week about resistant starch. And there's so much to know about that. And resistant starch is huge in feeding your microbiome. And if you haven't seen that, go check out that article. I'm going to do a podcast on it too. But you're just going to be shocked at how well that helps you. And the secret to doing it, there's a little secret to it that people don't understand how it works. But it has like 200 articles on how good it is for you, resistant starch. And that resistant starch is in things that you normally eat, but you have to do it differently. And it feeds your gut microbiome in such a good way. And it'll be fun and easy and enjoyable, just like this dip, to eat these foods. So stay tuned for that podcast or check out the article. And it's an exciting thing to understand. And here's the deal. When I implement some of these things and they work really, really well for me, and I can tell what's working and what's not, then I want to share it with you because it's making such an impact in my life, giving me more energy, making me feel more healthy. And you can tell by the way that you feel. And it's exciting to be able to share more and more information, because when you get some wisdom about your own body, it's super cool, because then you know it's working. Nobody else has to convince you. You know it's working. So check out this recipe. I think you're going to really, really like it. I hope you do. I hope this becomes a mainstay. And, maybe someday, before too long, everybody will be having this dip. So it's probably trying to sell it in stores and everything else, but that's thrilling to me, because the more we change and the more we implement things into our lives that are good for us and good for our gut bacteria, the healthier we become and the more we spread it up. So thanks for listening, guys. Check out the video, and we will talk to you next week.